Morning, everyone. Welcome. Um, so today's kind of like the last meditation in some respects of the book we've been following for almost a year or so. I don't if I shared at some point, but it's the Essential Nectar. This is the old one, um, the old cover. I think there's a new cover, the Essential Nectar. Meditations on the path of enlightenment. And there's the teachings from Geshe Rabten, I think in the 80s, um, going over this text. So it's just it. I recommend the book. It's a really good read. Um, it's very helpful, and I think it's been helpful in what we've done over the last 12 months or so. Um, so we'll probably do one or two more of these meditations, and then explore some new pastures on Thursday mornings. So. Um, I think we'll do a bit of um, emptiness meditation again, and then this this text it ends with the Vajrayana, the entering the Vajrayana, like the Lam Rim leading us up to the Vajrayana, and um, it finding the spiritual teacher and getting a guide on the path. So I just answer your question. That's sufficient. So bring ourselves into this space, finding a comfortable position, easing the mind, easing the thoughts, checking our posture, and seeing if there's any tension in the body. The legs, the knees, the hips, maybe in the back, the lower back, middle back, upper back. Perhaps in our neck or our shoulders, a lot of tension held there. If we have any tension, we can just observe it for a moment. We're going to ask ourselves the question, what is that tension? And when we investigate, it kind of wanders away. It becomes unclear. Doesn't Becomes difficult to see. It looks like or feels like it's in this one place, but then when we look, it moves or dissipates or reduces. So it's interesting that things or phenomena, they appear one way, but when we start to investigate them, they appear a different way. And that's why it's so important for us to work with our minds to understand the mind. As Lama Zopa Rinpoche always says, happiness comes from the mind. All the happiness that we experience in this existence, it comes from the mind. And then he explained in the same breath, all our suffering comes from the mind. So if our happiness and our suffering come from the mind, we sure better know what the mind is. We need to know the source of our happiness, the source of our suffering, how the mind works. Because that's the only way that we can fulfill our motivation, our bodhicitta motivation, to free all sentient beings from samsara, from suffering. So with that motivation and the lam rim, the path in our sights, then it all becomes possible. But we hold this motivation of bodhicitta or all those other sentient beings in this world system and all the world systems that we can't even see. That may we be the cause for their future liberation. So when we think about phenomena, things, objects, thoughts, etc., on one hand, it seems difficult, but on the other hand, it seems quite simple and logical that they don't exist from their own side. While they appear to exist autonomously, they appear to be self-supporting. They appear to be truly existent, but in the reality, they don't exist in this accordance. But as we looked at last week, it's also true that they are not non-existent. They do exist because we experience suffering, we experience happiness, we engage in activities. So phenomena, we can say the they exist empirically. It seems to be easiest for us to understand that they exist as dreams or illusions or something like this. So the the object, take a house for example, it appears in a certain way, but it does not um, exist in the way it appears. And we have this experience, right? So we walk or we drive every day, same path, and we pass a field, and then at some point in time, there's a building that starts in the field. And then after a passage of some more time, there's a house. And it's a bit of a slow process, but we could witness that at one point there was a field, and then day by day there was this activity, and then some months or years later there was a house standing where the field was. So we can understand that while the house looks very solid, it looks like it exists from its own side. We know because we witnessed the building of the house that it doesn't exist from its own side. It's a result of various causes and conditions and builders and plumbers, etc., creating what is today a house. So the house, it still appears there, it still exists, but it doesn't exist as it appears, as solidly, independently existent. So the house is more more like a dream, more like an illusion. And we can do the reverse analysis. We can investigate the house using the ultimate analysis, and we can start dissecting it. The house made of a roof, some wood, some glass, some metal. And when we look at the roof and we look at the glass and we look at the metal, there's no house in those materials. So there's no houseness. There's no houseness in the house and its parts. So the house just appears like a dream. And through this dissecting of all these pieces of the house, not finding house, what we arrive at is an experience of this empty space. There is no house. So this object house, it no longer appears. So there's this emptiness, this spaciousness of no houseness, no house. So we can apply this analysis to everything. So uh, we can see that phenomena, they exist in the manner of illusions. So this is the one way to realize emptiness. Which is this very important ingredient to liberation. So we need both the emptiness, um, or also called wisdom, but we also need merit. We need to develop these two positive aspects. So the practice of the path to enlightenment, it consists of the abandonment of the negative, so negative actions, thoughts, etc., and the actualization of the positive. So these are the techniques, the tools to achieve liberation. So there are many steps clearly laid out. And before we enter this Vajrayana path, one must have to develop renunciation, have to develop a level of bodhicitta, um, and the right view of emptiness. And then when one has these three elements, these views or ambitions, then one should seek a qualified teacher, qualified master. And then with the master to um, rely on their guidance, advice, teaching with faith, with strong faith or unwavering faith, and and then one would request initiation from the teacher to initiation to enter the Vajrayana path. And then when one takes this initiation and through this process accepts commitments and vows, and then one should follow those commitments and vows. because one is ready for them. So this could be reciting mantras, reciting sadhanas, um, upholding vows, bodhisattva vows, for example. So it's just important that we keep the vows, we keep the commitments that are given. And follow the instructions of the teacher. Practice the practices given according to the initiation, and slowly develop. So the Vajrayana is what they call the quick path to enlightenment. So for some, that's a path, and for others, um, there's the sutra path, and is also the path to enlightenment. So there's many, suppose you could say, many roads to Rome. Just getting a sense of the path, and especially this emptiness, the taste of this emptiness. It sets us in the right direction to see that not everything appears the way it exists, and it doesn't exist the way it appears. So we dedicate all the merits created during our contemplations, aspiration to realize emptiness, to dedicate these merits to all the individuals, all the animals, the insects, and all the beings that we cannot see. May they not suffer. May they not suffer in the future. And may whatever suffering they're encountering right now, may it cease to uh, suffer immediately. Thank you, everyone.